Saints fans and who-dats from all over the world. It's time for the Crescent City Connection.
And the Saints go marching on.
With Kyle T, the Diva, Bob Rose, and the rest of the crew.
First and 10, let the story begin. It's football Sunday, the Saints marching in. We went from bags on our heads to them calling us ain'ts. Now it's clear said they gon' beat them Saints. First round by, when we made the playoff, everybody hating, cause we get to take the day off. Vince and Boogie, nobody do it better. Now we on our way to our best season ever.
All right, Saints fans and who-dats from all over the world. This is Kyle T. Mosley from the Crescent City Connection, bringing you live reports from the Saints News Studio. I got no other than the ultimate, my mostest, my bestest co-host from all these years. She's on the line with us tonight, Diva, Charita, the Diva. Batiste, what's happening, Diva?
Well, not much. What's up, everybody? I'm sorry for the long hiatus, but I'm so glad to be back, especially under these circumstances.
Definitely.
We are winning.
Can you believe that, Diva? Man, we've been together, 7 years now, and just to see these boys winning the way they're winning, they were winning before, but not to see the way they're winning now.
This is winning. They are winning.
They are winning.
This is this is legit. All phases of the game are in order. Legit. Offensively is not. We depended so hard on the offense. Now we have a defense.
Yeah, we have
that's
a defense.
Meshed well. Now we have an offense that is not solely based on the quarterback airing it out all the time.
Right.
So,
well, it's going to be good to see. The thing is, we have seen a blueprint before. It happened in 2009 season for these guys to go ahead and win the Super Bowl 44. Will these guys be able to maintain? And let's see if the blueprint continues as it is. But we know we have an itchy trigger finger from Mr. Sean Payton from time to time. And Bob Rose, you know that better than most. How you doing this evening?
I'm real good. Thanks for having me on the show, everybody. And, Coach Payton having an itchy trigger finger is an understatement. He is the epitome of an old West gunfighter at high noon.
Yeah, well, when you have somebody like Drew Brees, it gets you into that mode of being able to rely on him. But this season, I think it's a good thing. Less Drew means better numbers all in all. It means more wins in the long haul. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but if you guys don't know by now, the New Orleans Saints are now 7-2 in the NFL. They are ranked third behind Philly as well as the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC playoff race at the moment. And I kind of hesitate to say playoff race because, Bob and Diva is kind of early for me to say playoffs at this time because we never know what's going to happen because we have a lot of challenges in the games ahead. The Redskins are coming into the Mercedes-Benz Superdome on Sunday, and we are always got to be wary of what Kirk Cousins is going to do. We don't know if we're going to have good Kirk, bad Kirk there that we're going to face. And then the Saints have to go out to L.A. and play in the Coliseum against the Rams in a couple of weeks as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But if you did not know, the New Orleans Saints was victorious against the Buffalo Bills on this past Sunday. The Saints ran the ball down the Bills' throat, 47-10. We had, let's see, 6 rushing touchdowns, and Drew Brees did not throw one single touchdown. And that was the most remarkable performance, I would have to say, watching these guys, other than when Drew Brees threw for 6 touchdowns against the Giants that time, Bob. How do you take it, man? How do you see what happened with these guys on this past Sunday?
It was pretty to watch. Everybody knows I'm a fan of the passing game, and I have always loved Coach Payton's offensive approach and how aggressive he is. Although, for years I have said that I wanted a more balanced running game. Well, guys, we got it now. We have perhaps the most balanced offense in the NFL. Because, like you said, Kyle, you put up 47 points without Drew Brees throwing for 300 yards and without Drew Brees throwing a single touchdown pass. That was just an impressive performance. I mean, you can't put the Bills up in the top echelon of NFL teams, but this Saints team still traveled north, always difficult, especially for a dome team. And although the weather cooperated a little bit, it's still 30 degrees. You're playing in a hostile environment because those Bills fans, for better or for worse, they're out there to support their team every single week. So it's loud playing in Buffalo's home stadium. And these Saints came in and they owned it like you would have thought that they were playing at home with the attitude that they came in. The team truly has swagger. And defensively, this team's confidence is at an all-time high. They know they can stop the run, and then they go out and prove it. They know they can rush the passer if they feel like it, and I say that this way because the last couple games we've seen them blitz a lot less and drop more into coverage. So that tells me that this is why their confidence is at an all-time high, because they'll step onto your field and say, we can play and beat you in any style of game that you want to play. You want to shut down our passing game? Fine. We'll run the ball down your throat and we'll score 6 touchdowns. You want to come at us with Shady McCoy? Fine. We'll shut him down. Good luck passing the ball against our cornerbacks, our secondary, and our pass rush. And I read an article this morning comparing this team and suggesting that this team is actually stronger than the 2009 and 2011 versions of the New Orleans Saints. I personally wouldn't go that far yet, but the sky seems to be the limit for this young group. I'm really impressed with the type of football that they're playing.
Yeah, good football all around by the team. You have to appreciate the way the youngins are playing, right, Diva? The youngins are really the ones that are making a huge difference. And, Bob, just to play off of what you say, you can see the swag not only on the defensive side, but you see it on the offensive side with what I would like to say our own, not gun control, but our run control with AK-41. Diva, how do you see Mr. Kamara and Ingram as these guys are putting up some phenomenal numbers with the New Orleans Saints?
Repeat that one again. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. How do you see Ingram and Kamara right now?
I see them as a what they call it, a two-headed monster. If that's the way. The only thing I'm highly impressed with Kamara being a rookie and running as well as he is, and I guess it took the motivation of getting Adrian Peterson here to, light the fire as far as Mark Ingram. But the one thing is I can't deal. The one thing that he really needs to work with moving forward is his ball control and how he handles it, because he has been coughing it up. But other than that, I'm impressed with what they've been doing thus far. It's just, consistency, and let's just keep it moving and see where we can go.
Yeah. Being consistent and holding on to the football is a concern, man. There's some other little concerns about the team that we're going to address in this broadcast as well. But before we go on any further, don't forget to go to www.saintsnewsnetwork.com to be able to read all the latest Barry Hirstius articles on the internet on the New Orleans Saints, and you can check us out on www.saintsnews.net. If you want to call into the show, speak with Bob as well as Diva, you can call in at 504-533-8444. Again, 504-533-8444. Okay, Bob, let me turn back to you, man. The New Orleans Saints record performance. They had 298 yards rushing as a whole. Drew Brees even got into the mix, and he scored a rushing touchdown as well. But these guys really were over 300 yards. Those couple of kneel downs from Chase Daniel put us under the 300 total. Man, just to see how Sean Payton kept going back to the well over and over and over. I think at one time it was up to 24 rushing plays straight from two consecutive drives that the Saints just ran. What's the make about this? Is Sean Payton really evolving as a coach?
That's a great question. I think Sean Payton is certainly intelligent enough to recognize where his talents lie, and yeah, he knew what he already had in Ingram, and bringing in Kamara, we knew very quickly that this guy was more than just a gadget player or a third down back. That he, I truly believe that Kamara can be an every down running back himself. Despite many of our concerns with the Saints offensive line coming in, he knew what he had there. He knew what he had when he drafted Ryan Ramczyk to add into this mix along the offensive line. So they've just decided to beat people up. And I love the man, and I love him for this. Coach Payton has a certain amount of arrogance to him. And he has seen his
you
team,
think so? No, really?
Just a tad, just a tiny bit. But he has seen his team get physically beaten up over the last couple of years. By the likes of the Seattle Seahawks, the Carolina Panthers, and even the Atlanta Falcons. And I think that he retold this team. When you have Drew Brees, the temptation is always going to be to throw a bunch. But I think he just decided to beat these other teams up a little bit, and that's what we're seeing out of this group. The term "imposing your will" on the opposition, that was one of Bill Parcells' favorite terms way back when he was coach of the New York Giants. And Sean Payton, of course, one of his mentors is Parcells, having worked for him in Dallas. And Parcells always had that kind of philosophy. And remember the types of quarterbacks that Parcells had as well. He's had Phil Simms, he's had Drew Bledsoe, he's had Vinny Testaverde, and he's had a bunch of good receivers at the different teams that he's operated under. Yet Parcells' first line of strategy, first strategy point was always, we're going to be physical. We're going to make you not want to play us anymore. And I think that that's what we're seeing out of Coach Payton's approach to these games now. They're just going to beat people up, and they're going to prove to you we're going to do what we want to do, and you can't stop us.
Yeah, definitely. With all the changes throughout the years so far, the injuries on the offensive line, Ramczyk's emergence really as I don't know if Zach Strief comes back. Can you get him off the field? Because Ramczyk has really shown that he, at this time, is a much better and, let's say, physically more able than Strief can be at the position. You see even Andrus Peat playing at an all-time high. But when Warford came back into the game for us, it really helped solidify that running attack for the Saints. And, Unger is going to be Unger and Armstead is going to be Armstead, right? But these guys are gelling well together as a unit. And, the battle in the trenches is how games are won and lost. And even on the defensive side, man, we could say, look, that defensive line is proving a lot of naysayers at the beginning of the season wrong on that end as well, Bob. So, I mean, all in all, if we look at the battle of the trenches, I think that's how we are winning football right now with the New Orleans Saints. Welcome to the show, Remy Jones, the professional. How you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, man, it's great to be back with you, man. It's been a couple of weeks, and it's always good to be here after thorough Saints butt kicking.
yeah. You know what, Rem? It was just that, man. And
I want to apologize to the rest of the NFL fans who had to watch that, because I know I don't. Unless you're a Saints fan, you want to look at that. You know, I didn't want to look at the New England game the other day. That was just boring to me to watch another team kick somebody's butt like that. But to watch the Saints really roll on somebody and just run, and totally manhandle and beat them down like that, man, what a pleasure. I enjoyed it. So it's great being here today.
All right. Rem, if you did not know, Diva's on the line.
Hey, Charita.
Hey, Remy.
All right. Bob, if you don't know, these two, they are characters, man. So
Well, I've known Remy for a little while now on the show, and I already knew that. And Charita figured that out pretty quickly as well. I'm hoping to be able to keep pace with you guys.
Yeah, you're
no, man, we need somebody to act like they have sense. Come on.
You're barking up the wrong tree then if you're looking at me.
Good stuff, man. Look, man, let me ask you this, Rem. And, you know, you're down in the Big Easy. How are the fans handling this success? Is it too much for us right now?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing, Kyle. I'm seeing a fan base now that it's hard to explain, because it's not really excitement. It's just that now people are back to normal, because this is what we've been expecting. This is what we expected to see the past 3 years. So now that you see it now, it's not so much as, "Ooh, yeah, man, we're really, really good this year." No, it's more like, it's about time. This is what we've been looking for. This is what we've been expecting. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, eating at the restaurant that you're accustomed to eating at. It's just things are back to normal.
Yeah, it's like eating at the real. Is it almost like eating at the real Dookie Chase instead of eating at Pookie's?
Right, exactly.
You mean like Dookie Chase in Melba's? That's like like that?
Hey, don't talk about Melba's. Talk about Melba's. They got some good wings at Melba's.
Well, it's good, man. I'm glad the Saints fans are embracing this, but you know, as anyone who has seen success before, you can hear it in the interviews with the media today. Sean Payton was kind of tempered in his excitement, and he told the team to kind of not smell yourselves, not kind of drink that Kool-Aid that these guys are trying to pour on you now. As you see, the national media guys are starting to embrace the Saints, or they're trying to say the Saints are one of the best teams in the NFL. Is it too early, Charita? Is it too early, Bob? Is it too early, Rem?
Well,
of course.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna hop in and say this. Of course, like the first 2 weeks were like with the first two losses. The first two losses, it was just like, oh, God, well, yes, these Saints are going to make it to the playoffs and so on and so forth.
Right.
And if you think about it, who else do you really have to write about right now that's been on the road? Yeah, you have the Eagles out there, but who, you know, I don't think it's too much too soon. I'm just saying, in my sense, it's not, I can understand what Coach Payton is saying. Don't hop on the bandwagon and start pumping, because these same people that are, you know, on the up and up the minute you have a misstep, you know what I'm saying, these will be the same people that are going to have stuff to say negatively. So just go out there and play the game that you know how to play, and, you know, let's see where it goes. That's how I'm looking at it. Am I happy? Oh, of course I'm happy that we've turned around. But it's 1 week at a time. So all we can do is just make it week to week, and that's how they should be playing the game. Even though it's gelling and it's coming together, week to week. Just do what you got to do week to week.
Week to week. Rem, what were you about to say?
Well, that's something else that I like about this team as of now. It has, not only is it playing much better football, what I really like is the attitude that they have. They have that swagger and that attitude that our 09, 2011, 06 teams had, where they were all about their business. And, they play their games, they play them well, they come out and do the same thing again the next week. They make mistakes, the Hill fumble, the missed PAT, things like that, and they just take it in stride and they keep playing good football from that point on. Even a couple of weeks ago with the 2 Ingram fumbles, back to back, and they just kept playing great football. And that's the attitude that we had in our heydays, and that's what I'm glad to see. I mean, I'm waiting for another guy to take I'm waiting for Drew Brees to throw an interception and a wide receiver take the ball back from him and run a touchdown like Meacham did. Because that's the kind of attitude these guys are having, man. And that's what I'm seeing. So I don't, want to jump on what the media is saying and everything like that. But, I like the attitude that Moore, oh, Lord, I almost called the man Moore, that Peyton has. But I'm sorry, Sean, man, I don't want to put you in that Moore category. You're much better. You do much better than get the ball over the 50-yard line and kick a field goal.
Playoff.
But yeah, man. So that's what I'm really loving is that these guys are committed to the game and are playing really good ball and continuing to play good ball even under adversity.
Yeah, definitely. Bob, going ahead and the success the Saints have been putting out on the field right now. I hate to be a negative ninny, but there are some things that I just think we got to clean up. But before we even go into cleaning up some things, where are the tight ends, Bob Rose? What is going on with our tight ends right now?
Well, nothing, and that's the problem. They're doing an all right job at inline blocking and doing a heck of a job in blocking for the running game. You have to give them credit for that. But as far as legitimate offensive weapons, between Human and Hill and Fleener, who we expected bigger things from, they're producing nothing. Luckily, the team hasn't needed them to. But my concern is, and we saw it early in the season when we did need greater offensive production in those first 2 games because the defense hadn't started to gel yet. Breeze would look towards his tight ends, and they either wouldn't be open. I mean, it's difficult to see from a TV screen, I will admit, but they're either not getting open or not getting away from the coverages, or Fleener had a couple of drops. Probably the biggest hole and the biggest weakness on this team is the tight end position. I think there's little doubt about that. And like I said, my worry is when the Saints have to pass the ball to win, what kind of production can we expect to see from the tight ends? And the biggest worry is not up to this point has been absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So going forward, do you believe that the tight end position is going to be a liability for the Saints?
Yeah, I do. I consider it already a liability. The team's offensive approach has been able to get around that so far because you have Kamara that's so good in even intermediate range routes as well as the short checkdowns. Ingram is terrific on the checkdowns. They're throwing a lot of short passes to get the ball in his hands and let him make plays that way. Michael Thomas is a master at that short slant, using his body to ward off the cornerback, so that way he's the only one that can catch the ball. So they've been able to get around that up to this point. But you've got to believe that there's going to be a point in time where this team is going to need something from Fleener, because really, athletically, he's the best of the three. And they're going to need something from Fleener. And my worry is that they're not going to be able to get it because I've seen no indication of that in a year and a half of him being here so far.
Yeah. Bobby Abear say Fleener is stealing money there, Charita. Should we go and put a stop payment on those checks at Whitney Bank?
Yeah, that's my favorite line is to put a stop payment on the check. But you have to think about it. For the little time that we were down, I mean, true, but you've had, what's his name, Michael Thomas, step up so much and be available. And we've been able to come, I don't know. I mean, when Kobe can do it, he does it. But he's not that on the level of what a raw Jimmy Graham was in the beginning, but he's serviceable, I should say. But at the end of the day, for his services, he might need to pick up the pace. Maybe he need a couple Red Bulls, a Monster. I don't know, some 5-hour energy. But I wouldn't totally put a stop payment because we do need tight ends. And I mean, we got to work with what we got because they sure didn't get Ginger Boy back.
Yeah.
So,
well, Fleener is only the major downfield threat. Josh Hill a couple years ago, guys, especially when Ben Watson was here, he did have some pretty productive games for the Saints. I just haven't seen Josh Hill really come back to form since he's had some nagging injuries from time to time. Hooman is just going to be a good blocker, for the team. So I don't expect him to be an all-out baller, but we do need to see that production from Fleener, especially coming up in this next game, Bob. When we look at how the Redskins play, they leave that intermediary type of field open. Their linebacking core are good pass rushers from time to time, but they're really susceptible to a good tight end going down the field, going down the seams. So if Fleener can get into that gelling with Drew Brees in this game, it's going to be the time we need him to do so. So hopefully we can be able to see him turn that around. Let's talk a little bit about another problem I see. And Remy, you touched on this, man. We had the second week in a row where Will Lutz missed a extra point. How do you feel about that, Rem?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, what were you saying?
How do you feel about Will Lutz missing another extra point?
I can't say I like it. Fortunately, we've been ahead enough where it hasn't really been much of an impact. But if we're going to continue playing the kind of football we're playing and get into playoffs, I'm sure those margins of victory are going to get smaller and smaller, and we won't be able to deal with that. I do like the fact that he remains calm in those situations, and I don't think he's ever missed 2 in a row, has he, since he's been with us?
No, not 2 in a row, but two straight weeks. 2
straight weeks, yeah. But I mean, so he stays calm, he stays cool, and he gets his job done. The next time. So it's not like missing something has an effect on him later. And be one of these kickers that they always talk about. Oh, he's hit 57 straight without a miss. That's what I want to start hearing about it. So, yeah, I would like to see more of that from him. But he does seem to be rather true. It's just, I guess, he has that low trajectory people are always talking about, and opponents know it. And even though this time it wasn't blocked, but opponents know it, and he has a tendency to kind of hook one every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because it looked like he pushed it to the right again, man. And Is it like technique that's going on wrong, Bob, or what's happening with him?
No, I don't think it's technique. Other than what Remy pointed out is Lutz traditionally has a low trajectory on his kicks. Now you expect that from longer field goals because kickers concentrate on distance, obviously, more than getting it over the line of scrimmage. But we're seeing it on a lot of short kicks. We saw it on a lot of short kicks last year too when he had a problem with that. So I don't know if it's not a problem in his approach to the ball, and he certainly has a very solid leg swing. I mean, the guy has a cannon for a leg. And he can hit a field goal from almost anywhere, any reasonable distance on the field. But the problem, like Remy pointed out, is that he's had a lot of low trajectory on his kicks. But that doesn't fall just on the kicker either. The interior line has got to hold their blocks better and prevent that penetration, because you get penetration and your kick is pretty much doomed from the start. And obviously, the longer range field goal that you're looking at, or if you're looking at a key extra point situation, the teams are going to be concentrating extra hard on trying to block that kick, because 1 point might not make a difference in a 37-point outcome of a game, but 1 point makes a heck of a difference in a playoff game or a game for playoff seeding if you're dealing with a close matchup. Let me ask you guys this. When Lutz lines up for any kind of kick whatsoever, do you guys have confidence in him? Because we're seeing confidence that Sean Payton has in him, and Payton has gone through kickers like we change socks. So he sees something in him that maybe I don't, because I move to the edge of my seat whenever any kicking opportunity comes up.
Yeah, you move, I move. I think my bowels move. So the thing is, man. Yeah, look, I'm be honest with you. I like the kid. I think, being a sophomore now, he's shown and proved that he has a good leg. Like you said, Bob, I can agree with that. I can agree that he has potential and he has talent, but consistency right now, going down the stretch, is what we need to see. And I think that's why the Saints hired Westhoff to be able to come in. They brought him from retirement to be able to help out, to oversee what's going to happen on the special teams, man. Our special teams have, and like Coach Rick Gailey would always say, we need our special teams to be special. They just haven't been doing it, man. They haven't been that special. We have very little on our punt returns, on our kick returns. We're not getting, those special type of players from Ginn or from Kamara, who sometimes returns the punt. The kickoffs, and Willie Snead. So we've got to see something coming up, and we've got to see how we can be able to best utilize this team, especially on the special teams, because special teams can be that one little factor between winning those close games, like you said, Bob, or watching someone else go ahead of you in the seedings in the NFC, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And we haven't seen anything special from our special teams. I can't think of the last time that we had a return game, either in punt returns or kickoff returns, that we had a lot of confidence in that this return unit can make a play. This return unit will make a play. And we've had returners here. Marcus Murphy, when he was able to hold on to the football, was a talented returner. We've had other ones, Ted Ginn. Ted Ginn made his money and is still in the NFL because of his ability to return kickoffs and punts. And we haven't seen any consistent threat from our return game whatsoever.
Yeah. Look, guys, and I'm looking at the stats for Lutz. Lutz is 18 out of 22 on field goal attempts. So he missed 4. That's kind of average for some guys, but we need to have that number a little bit closer, right? This is the concerning part, and I think this is why Sean Payton made the hire today, is that on extra points, he's missed 3 extra points this season. 3, with 2 of them being blocked. So that's an issue, man. So hopefully he can come in and Westhoff can come in and correct some of these issues that we're seeing. The late Joe McKnight from New Orleans, he was one of his proteges, and Joe McKnight did a great job when he was up there in New York for the Jets. So hopefully we can be able to have us turn it around, because right now we ranked 30th in the National Football League in punt return average this year, and we're 28th in kick return average. So that's pretty low for a team going down the stretch trying to make a run for the playoffs, right? So, all right, guys, let's talk a little bit more about
one more thing on the special teams, man. At least we're not Denver.
That was brutal, wasn't it?
That is true, man. Look, man, Denver is having all type of troubles, not on special teams, quarterback as well, man. So, Brock Osweiler, rough to see. And
Brock Osweiler!
He's still getting some checks from Cleveland. So, anyway.
By way of Houston.
By way of Houston, yeah, somebody's paying. All right, guys, so the Redskins are coming into town, and, Kirk Cousins is coming in. One little known fact, I did not know this, but the Redskins, out of their past 8 times coming to the Superdome, they have won 7 out of 8 times. The last time they have lost was Bobby Hebert at quarterback. Wow.
Well, that can change.
Yeah, that can change. What do you see as some of the threats, Remy, from the Redskins coming into the Superdome this weekend? Okay. Rem must be out of pocket. Bob, what about you?
The Redskins' passing offense concerns me. And it's not because of the way the Saints have played defense, because the pass defense has actually become a strength of this team. But Cousins can run as a hot and cold quarterback. We've seen the hot version of Kirk Cousins a couple years ago when the Saints played him, and even this year he's thrown up, I think, 3 or 4 300-yard games. The problem that I see is the inside receivers that the Redskins are going to hit this Saints defense with. Chris Thompson is an outstanding pass receiving running back. He isn't going to provide much of a threat in the running game, but he is the Skins' leading receiver, both in receptions and yards. And he can make some plays in the open field. And then you look at the tight end position. Vernon Davis is a veteran, but still has good athletic ability. Saints fans will remember him probably still in their nightmares from when he was in a San Francisco 49er uniform.
Yes.
And Davis has shown a little that he still has a little bit of that form left, so he's a threat. They have, when healthy, their starting tight end Jordan Reed is one of the best tight ends outside of Rob Gronkowski in the game. Now, the problem with Reed is he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and I think even now he has a hamstring injury that makes him questionable for this game. But if he suits up, that gives them a double-headed monster at tight end, and they have an outstanding slot receiver as well in Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder is a small guy, about 5'8", and that's what they have him listed as. He looks even smaller than that on the field. But he's a jitterbug kind. Very tough to stay with in man coverage, especially on the slant routes and crossing patterns. And those guys are going to be a tough matchup for the Saints secondary. Not so much the outside corners, because we know what we have in Lattimore, we know what we have in Crawley, and I'll take those pair over any pair in the NFL. But those guys that I just mentioned are going to put the Saints safeties and Saints linebackers, especially Craig Robertson, who's probably their best pass coverage linebacker. Those guys are going to need to be up for the challenge this week.
And you also have the young kid Josh Dotson, their former number 1 pick, who had that sensational catch this past week to be able to put them into the the win against those guys on last week. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a tough team. And not only that, Terrell Pryor is there too. So it appears on paper, and from what you're talking about, Bob, that the Saints are going to have to play the pass a little bit more. And I need to ask this of my man from Harahan, Mr. Barry Hirstius. Welcome to the show, Barry.
How you doing, Kyle?
How you doing, my bud? How do you see this? Is the passing attack something that we need to worry about, and how Kirk Cousins is able to handle the blitz as well? What's your thoughts?
Well, he's certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the game. I heard Bob mention that he's kind of have been up and down this year, but look, he can slice you and dice you. Make no mistake about it. We saw what he did to the Saints 2 years ago at FedEx Field, where he had a near perfect day. But then you see a game where he struggled against Minnesota this past Sunday. So he runs hot and cold, as Bob alluded to, and but that said, I just think that this is a dangerous team. This is a game that the Saints should not overlook by any means. It's the classic definition. Some fans will disagree with me and already have. But my article yesterday, where I called it the trap game, but it is a trap game. When you play in the Rams and the Panthers back-to-back weeks coming up, and you got a team like the Redskins that's 4-5 and hasn't been exactly setting the world on fire. The tendency is to overlook this type of a game. So by the classic definition, it is a trap game, and they're a dangerous team. You should not be taken lightly. There's so many factors that are going against the Redskins in this game. They're injured. They've got, as Bob alluded to, they're missing, Rob Kelly, the outstanding running back who played collegiately there in New Orleans at Tulane University. He's been lost for the rest of the year. He's on injured reserve. They got some injuries at the wide receiver position as well, as Bob alluded to. And then they're hurt on defense as well. They're going to probably be without D'Angelo Hall, their safety/cornerback, who's one of their top guys in the secondary. So there's a lot of things going against them in this game. So the tendency, I would think, especially for a young Saints team, would be maybe to, with all the hype that's going on all of a sudden around this team, and now we've gone from a nice little winning streak and turning the season around. Now we've morphed into something totally different, which is, this is one of the best teams in the NFL. This might be a Super Bowl contender, so we keep taking these steps. We went from baby steps to now we're taking these big steps. We're getting into some really, really, big time territory here. And so I think Sean Payton is a good enough coach, a smart enough coach to keep this team grounded and keep them, not allowing them to buy into the hype. But at the same time, these are young guys, man. And, look, we were all in our early mid-20s at one point, and we all remember how we acted in those days. And it's just human nature, man. I don't care what generation you're from. When you're a guy in your 20s, you tend to do things that, when you're in your 30s and 40s, you won't do. So,
look.
I love the Boot Gang thing that's going on with the posing and taking the pictures and whatnot. But look, you got to stay focused, man. It's the National Football League, and you will get a come up and quick if you don't stay focused. So,
right.
I'm just hoping that these guys will keep that in mind and be well prepared for this game, because I guarantee you the Redskins are going to come in there and give them everything they got. They're not worried about the Saints being 7-2. They're not worried about the Saints being one of the best teams in the league. They're not worried about playing in the Superdome, because as you allude to, Kyle, they've done well in the Superdome in the past. So they're going to come in there and they're going to give it. I know in my article this morning I picked the Saints to blow them out, and fans weren't happy with that either, apparently. So I can't win for losing, whether whether I've picked the game to be close or pick them in a blowout, people were never satisfied. But I think the Saints potentially can win this one very handily. But at the same time, I also believe it could be a shootout or a very close game, a high-scoring affair. So it could go either way. But bottom line is, this is a game that the Saints need to be careful with.
Yeah, definitely need to be careful with. We kind of forget the Redskins beat the Rams already. They beat the Raiders.
Yeah, and the Seahawks.
The Raiders and the Seahawks. And I watched that entire Seahawks game, and they gave them every little bit down to the bitter end. And they fought long and hard against Russell Wilson and those boys up in the Emerald City. So, it's going to be a very interesting game how the Saints are able to come through it. Now, Diva, let me throw this at you. Let me ask you, your question would be, based upon how this team is built, do you believe if the Saints can weather the storm against the Redskins that this team has that heart of a champion?
I would say so. I would say so. You can't get too caught up in your hype, and like I said, they just gotta keep playing. They just gotta, they gotta keep building on what they've done thus far. But they can't fall into, because I know in the past we've fallen into the trap game where we've gotten way too big for our britches, and then you get knocked back down. Remember those St. Louis Rams games?
Oh.
So long ago when St. Louis was just terrible.
Yeah.
And they lose to everybody, but it just seemed like consistently, there was like a couple years where we got that game happen every year. And every year it seemed like that particular team was worse than it was the season before as far as dealing with everybody else. But when it came to actually, when they got to us, we'd always get beat. So I think that's like a stigma, I should say, that hopefully this Sunday we can work on possibly breaking.
Yeah, I'm
because
interested.
In the past, it'd be nice to not repeat that same history,
right? Because
it seems to be something. It seems to be something that looms over this team.
Right.
So maybe we can do something different.
I agree. Look, guys, I'm interested to see how the Saints, because look, let's be honest. We have to see some contentious games. We have to see this team battle back. I remember back in the Super Bowl era when the Saints went down to Miami and they were losing big, and that team battled back. It showed some character, right? What's going to be the Saints' character game this season? Where they're not blowing someone out. What's going to be that character game that the Saints came back, won it, and then you can say, all right, I can see where these teams have the championship medal that is going to prove.
I can tell you my answer to that right now, Kyle.
Go ahead.
Both Atlanta games. That's what's going to happen, because Atlanta usually plays us hard, and by them being back to back and by them being personally upset with me messing with them about blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl, they really out to get me too. So I can see that being the two games, both of them. But just 3 weeks apart? Like we play them, and then there's another game, and then we play them again.
Right.
And I can see both of those games coming down to the Saints needed to show their heart. And, as we say in the hood, let them hang.
Let them hang. Let them hang low. So let's see where we go from here, guys. Junior Gillette is coming back to the Superdome. How do you feel about that, guys?
Hide the psych meds.
Yeah, to me personally, I don't think I had a fan ask me the question, did I think that Sean Payton or the Saints would be worried about Junior Gillette in this game, and I said no. I don't even think they'll give it a second thought. To me, I think the thought for me personally, I think the thought is going to be that game 2 years ago at FedEx Field when they got a mud hole stomped in them. I think that left a bitter taste in Sean Payton's mouth. He'll give you a lot of coach speak and tell you that it wasn't a big deal and it's just part of the crap. I mean, you saw he didn't forget about Greg Williams last year when they played the Rams.
That's right.
And he gave Greg Williams the business. Trust me when I tell you. And I know Sean Payton and John Gruden are very good friends. And Jay Gruden, the head coach of the Redskins, is John Gruden's little brother, obviously. And so he's friends with the Grudens, and they're all interrelated in that tree of coaching. But believe me when I tell you, if he gets a chance in this game, if this game winds up getting out of hand as it did last week at Buffalo, he's going to let Jay Gruden know he hasn't forgotten that game 2 years ago. I guarantee it. So we'll see how that plays out, because if the game winds up being close, he might not get the chance to show him. We'll see if that's the case. But to me, that's demoting. But if there's a motivating factor for this game, I think Junior Galette has zero to do with it, and it's more about Jay Gruden and Kirk Cousins putting 47 points on them 2 years ago is the thing that still kind of dangles in the memory there for the Saints and Sean Payton.
Yeah. I have to agree.
Yeah.
Sean Payton has that long memory. Go ahead, Bob.
Sorry to interrupt. I tell you what, I do wish the morbid curious side of me does kind of wish that Zach Strief was in this game because I would love to see him go one-on-one with Junior Galette after Galette tried to turn that locker room into an episode of Jerry Springer a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. That would have been worth the price of admission right there.
Without a doubt. And you know yourself, Barry, there's still a handful of guys on that team that were in that locker room that Galette tried to divide, and they're not going to forget that. So, I would expect that when Junior is on the field, the Saints offensive line is going to pay some extra attention to him. And Teron Armstead, remember, was on that team as well. So he might get a shot or two at Junior. Having said that, Peyton and Carmichael, they're game planning for Ryan Kerrigan and Preston Smith on the outside linebackers. Junior doesn't really even start. I don't know personally whether he's back to full form from back-to-back Achilles injuries. But there's other Redskin defenders that the Saints are going to be game planning for. Galette, a couple of those guys might take some personal shots at him, but I think that'll be about it.
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm more worried about Ryan Kerrigan than anybody, because he's turned out to be one of the better defenders in the league, a home run pick for the Redskins, and they haven't had many great drafts recently. So other than obviously Cousins himself, but pick for them was
Hey, what's up, everybody? Elliot Harrison here with your Week 11 Power Rankings, and we start. The Jets looked really, really good against the Bills on Thursday Night Football, and then they come in, they play the Bucs, and it just doesn't look good. At this point, they kind of are what they are. You can say the same about the Bucs. I mean, they got to win here. But...
Sorry about that, guys.
I was like, okay.
I apologize. I had that queued up for us, and it just went hand mind over its own. Forgive us there. Sorry about that. Guys, it's some good stuff. Let's kind of talk about this going down the stretch here before we start wrapping up the show. What's the keys to winning this game against the Redskins for the Saints, Barry?
For me, it's going to be the run defense is not going to be an issue this week. I don't think because the Redskins are really backing up the running back. It's going to be getting pressure on Kirk Cousins and making him uncomfortable in the pocket. He's a type of quarterback, as we've been saying, he runs hot and cold, but he does not do well when he's pressured. And in that game 2 years ago, one of the reasons why the Saints got beat so bad is because they almost didn't lay a finger on the guy. I mean, they had all day to sit back there and throw. And when you can't get pressure on a quarterback, don't have a pass rush. So, and not that the Saints secondary would have stopped them in the game anyway, but they didn't have a pass rush. The secondary wasn't that great either. The Brandon Brown surely wasn't going to cover anybody or Jeffersburg. So,
right.
It was just a situation where they just were outmanned and, they were just in the bad spot. And, Rob Ryan, hey, I wasn't sorry to see him go because his team was failing miserably at that point. But I think in this game, we're talking about a totally different defense. Yeah, lockdown corners now, especially with Marshall Lattimore. It's just a totally different situation. This is a defense that is confident. They're playing probably as good as they possibly can. They have a legit pass rush now with now you got Okafor on the other side of Cam Jordan. So for me, there's no question about it. If I had to pick out one thing, it's going to be the Saints pass rush against the Redskins over the line and get pressure on Cousins. If you rattle him, it's game over. I mean, it's that simple. We saw what the Saints did last week. Once they got Tyrod Taylor out of the course, not that it wouldn't matter because the Saints had the ball also for Buffalo couldn't even get on the field to even run plays. But even when they were in there, you saw that once they got pressure on Taylor, he was totally scattershot and couldn't get anything going. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this game. This Cousins is pressuring. He's going to will on the pressure, and so to me, that's the key to victory. If they don't get adequate pressure, then this could be a closer game, maybe a little too close for comfort. If you give him a chance to sit back here and complete passes.
Okay. And Cousins has fumbled 9 times already this season, guys. So that's something to be aware of. Yeah. Remy, what's some of your keys for a win against the Skins?
Everything that was just said, but I would add to that, thing that I would always say, I'm always going early. With Nawlins in a position where they have to change, especially now defense we have that makes plays in a position where they're in fantastic situations all the time, or they're even in situations where, like you've been seeing a lot of the past couple of weeks, where they're in the third and long. And you can get from that 2 yards of offense to bring it down because they are tactically down. They lay their hands on it, bring it down. So we can put on our offensive position where it's going early. Yeah, everybody has to change this. That's going to be a key point.
Good stuff. Diva, who are some of your key players for the Saints to be able to come away with a win?
Pretty much my biggest thing is don't fall for the trap. Cross the board, good down. And secondly, hold on to the ball.
Okay. Hold
on to the ball in those important moments. Hold on to the ball.
Okay. And Bob.
I very hit every defensive nail on the head. They have to get to Cousins early. They have to rattle him. They have to hit him around. The guy has shown a tendency to not be able to hold on to the football when you pressure him in the pass pocket. And I would not be surprised to see the Saints dial up a lot of early blitzes to try to get to Cousins even faster, especially if A.J. Klein ends up sitting out this game. Because we talked about the Redskins' intermediate targets that they're going to come after him with. Offensively, I kind of expect to see a reemergence of the Saints passing game. It's not that they play poorly, but like we talked about earlier, they haven't needed to pass the ball to win. And I think what we're going to see, we're going to see a pass-heavy attack early on, and then we're going to see that constricting style where they really impose their will after that and turn the game into a physical match by getting Kamara and Ingram back involved. Because I have to say, I expected them to throw half the ball a lot against Buffalo. Because remember, guys, the Bills had the top 10 ranked run defense, and they ran for over 300 yards remembers how this team was manhandled a couple of years ago up in Washington. So he's going to try to pound them early. He's going to try to get out to a big lead early, like you said, Remy, and then just let the defense and the running game just beat Washington up after that.
Good stuff, guys. I think the Saints need to continue running the ball, guys, and the reason why I'm saying this is that every team that has successfully ran the ball early on these guys and not gotten into one of these pass type of situations have come out victorious against the Redskins. So let's see how things transpire in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome on Sunday. Guys, I really do appreciate y'all being with us tonight. Quick, Barry, what's your score?
I'm going. I got to stick with the score I gave this morning. I'm going to go Saints 45, Redskins 17.
Okay, Diva.
You know, I don't do scores.
Okay, all right, Rem.
I agree, man. My man here right on the head. That's the exact same score I'm looking at, boy. 5-17.
Oh, all right. And Mr. Rose.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. It would not surprise me to see an absolute blowout again from New Orleans, but I'm going to go a little bit closer. I think it's going to be Saints 35, Redskins 24.
Oh, man, God, you took my score, man. I think it's going to be 24 Redskins, but really 38 for the Saints. That was going to be my prediction. All right, guys, everybody has the Saints coming out a winner in the Superdome on Sunday. Quick, before we get off, what do you think about the NFL not flexing that Rams game to an evening broadcast, guys? Who wants to take that?
I'll take it real quick. I'm a little surprised. I understand that, they're affection for the Packers franchise, but, you got to know Aaron Rodgers in that game, so, anybody really want to tune in to see Green Bay get beat? I don't. So I kind of think that they might drop the ball. I mean, I understand why they did it, but for me personally, you're talking about two of the top teams in the league right now. Regardless if the Saints and the Rams are both considered quote unquote surprise teams, and they're not more popular teams like the Steelers or the Patriots. Right now, or the alleged number one team right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been playing well, but I'm not convinced that they're actually the best team. But that said, man, you're talking about what a fantastic matchup the Saints and the Rams are, and the Panthers the following week. I know you asked Remy about the games that the Saints have to be worried about down the line, and certainly playing the Falcons qualified. But playing the Rams and the Panthers back-to-back weeks, that's no slouch either. So we're going to find out a lot about this team in the next few weeks. Not necessarily this Sunday, but you got to have a stretch of games in a 5-week stretch. You're going to play the Rams, the Panthers, and the Falcons twice in 5 games. And brother, it don't get no tougher than that. So you look at that 7-2 team. I was kind of trying to project it out in advance today, and I'm thinking at the worst right now, we're looking at 11-5 team, and the Saints get 11-5. Considering how they look the first 2 weeks of the season, if they finish 11-5, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Can I pat myself on the back for a second and remind you of the preseason predictions that we all made?
Go ahead, Mr. Rose.
Yeah, did you pick 11-5?
I did.
Yeah, well, so you might hit that one on the head. I picked some 10-6, which everybody thought, probably thought I was being a little bit of a homer, but I just, based on the preseason, how good that defense looked, obviously the first 2 weeks of the season, I was thinking, oh God, how could I have done that? But they've rewarded my faith from late August that I had in them, and let's see how it plays out 7 games, as I've been trying to tell everybody this week. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Now all the national networks suddenly are taking notice because we beat Buffalo in Buffalo, and now all the people who are doubting or hating on or whatever you want to call it, their biggest critics or whatever. There's a lot of people in the national media who are very, very critical of the organization, and now they're all on the bandwagon all of a sudden. So I agree with Sean Payton, what he had said earlier. I think yesterday he might have said that, let's not buy into the hype. They all can, they all want to on the same bandwagon now, but, you don't need anybody else on the bandwagon. You just need to stay focused and take one game at a time and let the chips fall where they may.
Definitely. You already got a new one coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't even know what it's about yet. I probably won't know until about 3:30, 4 o'clock when I wake up. I literally, a lot of times do it on the fly. Some days I might have it written out a day in advance, and there's other days where I literally wake up and brew a pot of coffee and decide right there on the spot. So, but we will do that. We'll be in the morning. Yes.
All right. Mr. Rose, how can people follow you?
People can follow me with my own personal Twitter handle at BobbyR2613. As a lot of you know, I do write articles for John Hendricks and the Canal Street Chronicles, and I have a piece coming out tomorrow morning previewing the Redskins Saints matchup, Saints offense the Saints defense versus the Redskins offense, and how that shapes up. But my work can also be followed on Canal Street Chronicles, both the Facebook site and Canal Street Chronicles on Twitter, which is at Saints CSC. Check us out. We have a lot of great writes.
Good. Our boys over at the Canal Street Chronicles, they're part of the Saints News family. We all work together and help one another out. Okay, Rem, thank you so much. Diva, great to hear your voice as always, my darling. And Barry and Bob, thank you. Don't forget, guys, go to www.saintsnewsnetwork.com to read Barry's articles, as well as you can go to saintsnews.net to check out all of the Saints news from across the internet 24/7. This is Time T. Mosley of Saints News Radio. You can check this out on www.saintspodcast.com and listen to us, the guys in Canal Street Chronicles, Deuce Window, and those guys as well as Larry and Doug. So you can check this all out and what's happening in the Who Dat Nation. Saints go against the Redskins on Sunday. Let's see if our